Hey, welcome to the Tech-Mex podcast. I'm your host, Eric Ramirez, and I've got my awesome co-host here, Mando Gomez.
Howdy.
We're here with episode 21. Today we're going to talk about the latest in news, finance, and tech. Let's get into it. Dale.
All right, man. What we have here on the news?
Hey, did you hear about our buddy Steve Wozniak over there in Mexico?
Yeah, man. He's a national treasure, man, for humanity.
I know, man.
So yeah, he was about to give a presentation, and he actually was getting a stroke. So now he's back safe home. So, but yeah, he needs to watch out.
Yeah. So yeah, I read about it in the Times and the BBC. They mentioned that, he was going to do a talk out there in Mexico City. I'm curious about what that talk was, right? But he ended up getting a mini stroke. He ended up going to the hospital, and they cleared him about a day after, and he went back home. And for those that aren't familiar, he's one of the Apple co-founders, Steve Wozniak, that him and the other Steve, I guess Steve Jobs, co-founded Apple. But really scared to see things like that because like Mando, you mentioned, he's one of our national treasures. And
I think that there's a lot of things here, right? Like there are a couple movies that they when Steve Jobs passed away, they start building the kind of the books and the movies and all of that, right? By the way, Steve Jobs is one of my heroes. Did you knew that?
Oh yeah, well I know you always kind of mention him, but you classify him as one of your heroes. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, man, it's one of those things that because I work with Elon, it's one of those things that never meet your heroes, right? but I never met Steve Jobs, right? But I pictured Elon to be like him, right? To a little bit more engaged and trying to give you direction on that. So, and when I was watching the movies or even reading kind of some of the books on the biographies, kind of that gives me that impression, right? Hard to tell, but yeah, it's sometimes I like to think how Steve Jobs will think about a product. Look, listen, he might be an asshole for some things, right? But he was brilliant to be able to put tech products into the hands of people. Like even iPhone and iPods and all of that. One of the first iPods, though, it felt like alien technology to me. Like this is like back on the days when the first kind of like even it didn't even have a button, right? You can just scroll it, right? So it was very cool. And you seen the progression in the next 10, 15 years. And yeah, Steve was literally a co-founder there. So there were some back and forth between them, right? And I think that their personalities, but man, they were a dynamic duo.
Yeah, for sure. And I know Steve Jobs takes a lot of the, I guess that credit. He was more at the forefront and for the credit, but Steve Wozniak, always in the background, but he's still around kicking. I think it's pretty cool. I never was really a big Apple fan, just in general. I've always been team Android ever since the beginning, and even before Android was around, I was using like the Windows based phones before iPhones even came out with the touchscreens and everything. So I never got on that bandwagon, but I can always appreciate a good eye for design and things like that. And I know that's what Steve Jobs brought to the table. And talking about the movies, it's very cool how he left the company and it was going to shit, right? and so they're like, we got to get Steve back. We got to get Steve Jobs back. And that's when things turned around again. So I think he really proved his worth there. And it wasn't just the product. It was kind of, the brilliance that he had in his mind. And I know there's that Think Different ad that you've mentioned before. It's pretty cool, right?
I recommend everyone to watch the Think Different ad, because sometimes companies, they get lost in the kind of the marketing and all of that, the branding, right? But you can see the core of the idea of Apple there, which is think different, right? How these people that they can change the world, right? And obviously, and this is what some of the people, sometimes we have some of our listeners, they have their own businesses. When you're thinking about marketing, again, go back to some of these titans, right? That they create these empires, which is the belief. You will be surprised that the ad doesn't talk about the product at all. So they are not telling you get a Mac because it has this faster processor, or it has this monitor that has high resolution. No, it's more about what you can do with the beliefs on the product, which is thing different, right? So yeah, an amazing ad, and yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's awesome. And seeing that ad, because you've sent it to me before, I'm like, yeah, that's a really good ad, and that's something I really grok towards. That's something that really cool. It really feel like it. I really feel that that sentiment. Now, even Simon Sinek, the guy that does the kind of go back to the why. Go back to the why. This is, I think, one of the examples he talks about is right. This is one of these masterpieces in advertising where you really touch kind of the soul of people that really understand this. So, awesome. I think it's pretty cool. Steve Jobs did this, and I sure hope that that the Woz gets better because we need him around. So it's good to see that he did get out of the hospital and he seems to be doing okay.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing that I was excited, and I think that sometimes we are touching in some politics. We shy away, but for whatever reason, it always follows us. So, two female front-run candidates for Mexico's presidency. So next year is elections year for Mexico. They're gonna have a new president they're gonna do the elections in June. So there are two candidates that they are females, Claudia and Xóchitl, right? So for me, super exciting because you're seeing evolve, right? You're seeing all of these different countries. And by the way, there has been a lot of riots in Mexico because of feminist, right, movements. Because a lot of people are still thinking on the macho and everything, right? So I think that these type of leaders, it will start kind of shutting down all of that thinking, right? And look, it's always good. Diversity is always good, right? And more when you're in leadership positions. And I'm super excited. What's your take there?
Pretty cool. So, I mean, how many? You mentioned there's two female candidates here. Are they like in the top runners? Like, you think they're actually going to make it through?
So, and here is where it's different, maybe for people that they don't know some of the politics in over there in Mexico. They are Democrats, right? So people over there, they actually vote. Over here, we have the pointing system on Democrats and Republicans. Over there, a vote is a vote. No matter if you're in the south of Mexico or in the north of Mexico, a vote is a vote. The other interesting thing over there is that you can create a party. So, and this is quite, I guess there are obviously some pros and cons of everything. But if you collected, I believe, 150,000 signatures or 200,000 signatures, you could literally sign up to have a party. So you can have a Ramirez party.
Hey, vote for me.
A Tex-Mex party, right? So I think that, and that's what happens. Sometimes you see these parties creating just for whatever reason. But as United States, right, sometimes they don't have the pool. And what happens, sometimes they do some like joint venture with the bigger parties. And there are three big parties over there. They call them the PRI, the PAN, and Morena. And these two candidates are from PAN and Morena. And currently, the current president, it was from Morena. By the way, Morena, it means like brown skin, like darker skin. So, and that's right now the president. His name is Andrés Manuel López Obrador, which everybody over there, they call him AMLO. That's his initials, Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Yes. So, and he is vouching Claudia. Everybody believes that maybe she's the next one, but we'll see. It's exciting. We'll watch the elections as well over there because there are some implications, right? For even the relations between United States and Mexico.
Yeah, for sure. So I think those elections are still not till next summer, though, right? So I guess they're ramping up, just like things are going on over here. When I hear about it, though, I wonder how I wonder how it's all going to play out. Like a new Mexican female president. I wonder if it's going to change the way some of the politics are going to work between like the U.S. government or even the Texas government. I mean, because I know there's a lot of things being passed here in Texas around the anti-immigration, the HB4 stuff we mentioned previously. I wonder if there's going to be some extra negotiations that's going to happen there, and if it's going to change anything with Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to think that maybe more diplomacy, right? Sometimes females they approach things in a different way, right? We're gonna be seeing all of these different things, right? Maybe different policies, right? More ways. So it will be interesting to see. I don't have right now predictions. Mm-hmm. I'm more actually curious on the whole situation, but for sure I have two daughters, and I want a place where whether in the United States or Mexico, right, there is opportunities for them, and again, having female leaders, I think that is good for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. So that's really cool news to hear. We'll keep an eye on it and kind of bring y'all the latest and greatest. So it seems like 2 out of the 3 major parties in Mexico's have female candidates that are going. I think it's pretty good chances that.
And that's what I see, 60% chance, man. So it's a higher chance than 50.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. All right. Well, we'll keep y'all up to date with that. Hopefully, they can help out some of our Texas politics over here with the whole HB4 and the wall buoy stuff that's going on at the border. So we'll see how that works out. But speaking of like Mexican, did you hear about this TikTok story with Mario Lopez?
The guy from Saved from the Bell, what was the name of the show?
Yeah, Saved by the Bell. Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the Bell, yeah.
When I wake up in the morning, that one.
Yes, that was a good show, man. It's like even I was in Mexico in that time, and they play it over there too. It's like, and I will watch it. Yeah, I like it.
Well, Mario Lopez, he was like the gym bro.
The beef, yeah.
The gym bro. Back then they were called beefcakes, right? And back then, but now they're called gym bros. The gym bro, he was gym bro in the show, right? So that's kind of funny.
How do you call it before? How they were called
they
before?
Call him beefcake. I think that's what you were going to say, no? Beefcake or beefhead. I don't know. They call him different things, but the muscle head. But yeah. He's growing his career like, he's superstar now, sure. Right? Obviously, Mario Lopez. And I'm sure that show had a lot to do with it. But, he's on E! News and stuff like that. And he's kind of talk show host, lots of things. Well, recently, he's been doing a lot of his social media stuff. And he's been doing
himself?
He's got like his crew, Okay, he's got his own crew, like his family or his normal crew that he runs around with. And he's been doing like almost like food reviews. He just loves talking about food. And he's also saying, I got my cerveza. Me and my homies over here enjoying this food. We got these tacos and they're really good. I like them with this chile, the salsa over here. He's getting all like, showing the best of our culture. That's what I like to see, right? The best of our culture. And there's some stitches or people kind of like, hey, is Mario Lopez Mexican? Like, why is he talking about Mexican food?
Not only Mexican food, like people like Mexican food, but okay.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, that's hilarious. Do people not realize Mario Lopez is Mexican? He's like, he brown, and but there's
wait. And his name is Mario Lopez.
Lopez.
It's not like a Brian whatever Smith, right?
There's some pretty easy clues there to let you clue you in on this, right? But I think because his persona, like when he's on TV, he's like very proper. He doesn't have like he's not presenting the culture in a way that we might expect to see. He's got his professional voice on, his business voice on, for what he's doing, right? But there's some people, and so there's people that are stitching him in. They're like, okay, all right, for the white folks that don't know, and these are like both brown and black people that are doing these stitches income. They're saying, when we, being us minorities, when we go to work, or are in a job interview or whatever, we put on this specific special voice, right? Because this is what's accepted within the culture here within the US. And so, but know that when we go back home and we're with our family and friends or people from our specific culture, we go back to talking how, hey, we're going to drink some cervezas. What are we doing this weekend? We're going to have some tacos, and it's a very different thing. And they call this thing called code switching, right? Have you heard about code switching?
No, you just enlighten me. What is that? Why code switching?
It's basically that. It's like for us, we kind of live in two different worlds almost in some ways. Not everybody, but some people can live in these two different worlds. And so when we go into work and we go into these professional places where people aren't expecting to see all the culture out on display, you put on your very special work, because without this, you can't advance. That's just the way it works. You have to be able to speak in a certain way, with a certain tone, with a certain cadence, to be able to be successful in I think that we've got. That's that code switch.
Okay, got it. And I think that I don't want to add any connotation. It's just is, right? I don't want to say it's bad or good, right? Because it's just is. And I'm trying to, based on what you're telling me, I think that has to do a lot of for how to communicate. And what I mean is, like, sometimes it's harder when you have different accents, right? I have an accent, obviously. But if I'm speaking too fast, it's harder, right? To understand me and any other accent. So I think that maybe that's kind of the nuance here, where in order to be able to communicate more effectively, right, with between others. But I can see why maybe it has also the bad connotation, like, well, these people might be like in a slang or ghetto or whatever. But again, I don't want to go into that route, because a lot of this as well becomes part of culture and becomes part of coolness, right? Like sometimes even the kids are using some things that become part of the any other culture itself. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, which is I completely see it happening where you have almost like a mask, right? One that you have like at work and another one for your family and friends.
I think it's another form of gatekeeping, honestly. Like, I think what we've seen in a lot of big companies, a lot of big corporations, it looks very much the same across the board, right? There's
blend,
right? I'll put it that way. So there is not that much diversity in a lot of cases. I'm not saying it's like that across the board. A lot of companies and businesses are making big strides in that regard with both minorities and women and female leadership. So that's really good. But I think in a way it has been. I think it's becoming more obvious that that's a gatekeeping thing. So maybe it'll change in the future. But for now, there's this code switching that we've got to do whenever we're going into work and we're trying to be professional. And, not a lot of that flavor makes it into the workplace that we can bring. So pretty interesting, though. But it's so funny for Mario Lopez, because people are maybe used to seeing him like on the TV show, and he's like a very specific character and way. But when they see him in social media, he's more laid back. He's more of his true self, and he's talking like, "Hey, Latinos, we're friendly. We like to drink, we like to eat, we enjoy fun, we enjoy food, we have fun." And so this is a very big contrast, and a lot of people are like, "He's Mexican." Like, when did that happen? Too funny.
And the issue is sometimes that then maybe he's too white in other words, right? So it's like, man, there is no right or wrong, right? Just let the man be, like because it also happened to me. Like, you're a white Mexican now, Mando. Like, dude, I'm just being Mando. I mean, it's just being me, right? So I do have to behave in certain ways, right? Where we are. And that's what it is. I'm not trying to become anybody else. It's just I have to do sometimes what I need to do, right? But yeah, I think that sometimes even your own culture might reject you. And other cultures might reject you, right? For some of these facts, which my advice here is just be yourself, right? Kudos for Mario Lopez. Be yourself and you do what you need to do. You do you, Mario Lopez.
That's right. No, I love it. So I hope he keeps doing showing us his true self on his social media. So it's pretty cool. And moving on, have you seen the latest about the Nasca Peru aliens?
No, the last thing that I saw, it was your short about aliens being mashed potatoes.
Sweet potatoes. They got
Sweet
that
potatoes.
the orange gooey center.
Oh, yeah. That was the latest. So tell me.
I'll fill you in. So again, there was a Mexican congressional hearing similar to the U.S. had their congressional hearing about UFO, aliens, biologics, whatever you want to call them, right? Mexico also had one. Well, this week they had their second one, and they were focusing still on these Nasca Peruvian mummified aliens. So they've taken it a kind of a step further. So in the first one, they really just introduced like, hey, there's these aliens. We stole them from the Peruvian, from Peru, from the caves over there, and we think these are legit. So we're having some congressional hearings about it. The second one, they presented some. There's 8 researchers that are associated with, I think it's a Peruvian university, and they've all signed and say publicly declaring these things are not hoax. These things aren't fake. But, there's that has a certain connotation in that it's just they believe these are real biological things, right? They have been tested. They do show that they're over thousands year old. Mm-hmm. So they have been tested in that way. They are looking at, when they did the dissection, it looks like maybe there's some petrified eggs in one of these aliens. So all of that is coming out. I think there's a key problem here, though. So I mentioned they came from Peru, right? These aliens, mm-hmm. and it's the Mexican government that's holding these hearings. But the thing is, the association here is there was a hoax, like maybe 5 years ago or something like that, where there were actually some deemed to be fake aliens that came out of the same area, and that's in Peru. And this was all perpetrated by this guy called Jaime Musan, mm-hmm. something like that, right? Yeah. And he's been associated with these fake aliens. And the thing is, he's now involved with these aliens. So that's why people are like blowing this off, saying, yeah, it's the same guy doing the same hoax. It's just now he's doing it in Mexico.
Well, his reputation has been, listen, he has built a career on this. Like, I'll give him that. All his career has been on aliens and UFOs and all of that. So, but the problem is that in order to get some views and everything, sometimes he has shattered his own reputation, right? So, mm-hmm. and even over there in Mexico, a lot of people is in the camp that he's a hoax, right? And I think that is hurting these investigations instead of helping. But again, maybe find it for yourself, right? Try to read it in different sources, and if they're already doing testings, maybe there's something valid there. So I'm curious to see what is the next on the sweet potatoes.
So I do think there's going to be further congressional hearings on this. So I think out of this last one, they're saying, hey, we're inviting people worldwide to come take a look at these aliens that we've got. They're being very open about it. They want to give people the access that they need to do their own tests. Just because, people are like, Mexicans don't do the science the same way we do it in the U.S. Okay. Hey, we invite you. Come take a look at these and tell us what you think. But there was a little bit of scandal because apparently Peru maybe they don't like the fact that they are being associated with aliens, because they're like, look, we had this hoax. We were made fun of 5 years ago. We want to shut this down. So they're saying they're like trying to restrict access to where these some of these other mummies were held in the university over there, where they're not letting people in, they're not letting people get access. And so there's some like covert things. They got some spies try to go in, get access to these mummies that the Peruvian government is trying to keep from getting out. So there's still a lot going on behind the scenes here that we don't really know about.
I mean, I'll give Jaime Musan, right? He was able to get some of those mummies out of Peru. So. I mean, that's cool.
It's too funny. Yeah, I mean, he put it in his duffel bag or what?
I
don't
guess
know what
he just put like.
well, they do look like E.T. Like from the movie. They're like, no, it's just a doll. It's okay.
Just my doll.
Like,
It's just my mashed potatoes doll.
It's for my kid over there. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Oh
right.
man. So yeah, that's the latest stuff on the Nasca Peru. We'll keep you up to date though on the latest that comes out of that.
Dude, now finance. Let's move to finance news. You know this, right? Bitcoin, 38K, baby.
38. Pump it up.
Pump it up. Yes, and I think that we still are kind of holding or waiting on the ETF, right? That's what is sparking these rumors and this price action. So, I mean, double. It's already more than a little bit of the double of for this year, right?
Yeah, I think like this time last year it was at 15K, and that it kind of held that price range going into the beginning of this year. So if you bought Bitcoin at the beginning of this year, even towards the end of last year, from 15 to 38, that's a big swing. So it's more than doubled there. So it's looking pretty good there. But again, BlackRock is driving a lot of this. So I think the latest that we're hearing is BlackRock feels pretty confident that by January, they're going to have their ETF that's been approved. And not just theirs, it's going to be more than likely across the board. But some of this price action is also because some people were saying, hey, by Thanksgiving, we might have these ETFs approved. So we're starting to hear some things, and it's just getting closer and closer. But by the way, BlackRock also this week announced, hey, we're buying Ethereum. It caused it to double also. So Ethereum was hovering around, I don't know, maybe $1,000 or so dollars or something like that. And now it's over $2,000 right now. So Ethereum made a huge jump with that, which in a way I'm not too happy about, because I had a bunch of Ethereum on Celsius and they went bankrupt, right? Because they got caught doing fraud, just like this other FTX fool. This is Mashinsky over here though. Their bankruptcy proceedings just ended this week also. So we're looking to get a payback. The thing is, the payout that I expected to get, if Ethereum said I would get more Ethereum, but now that the price is going up, they're going to end up getting less Ethereum because they're doing it by the dollar amount, not by the Ethereum amount, right? So I'll get less Ethereum out of there. But that's the way it is. You take risks, and I lost a little bit on this one, but overall, I'm way up.
Once again, if you have your coins in some of these companies, they're not highly regulated, right? That's kind of the issue. I was in the beginning in the camp of not being like kind of very independent and all of that, but that's the reason why we have the SEC, right? Protecting consumers and all of that. So I think that it's important to get regulated, and as more banks older institutions are joining, I think that it will help to regulate. I see it more now as a healthy competition. Like the technology can move faster the money, right? So in that way, hey banks, if you guys are not faster in order to process it and remove your bureaucracy and paperwork, then it's good competition. So we'll keep watching the price. It's a good hike. No complaints there. So what's the next news?
Well, so just back a little bit on this BlackRock. So again, the halving is happening in April, it seems. So we're thinking pre-halving this BlackRock news could really send Bitcoin back up to its previous all-time high at 69,000. So people are calling for 100K, and this could all be even before the halving, which typically following the halving, you also see a big rise in price. So really good information there. But so we're hearing all this good news on crypto, but at the same time, we're hearing kind of these bad news about kind of U.S. economy. So did you hear about the Moody credit rating? They put the U.S. as in negative territory. Like
explain
not a good
explain
thing.
What is that? What is the Moody credit?
Well, so right now, what's going on is because we have such a large amount of deficit, right? The government, we're like in the trillions of deficit. All our actual loan payments that the United States has to make it's totaling over $1 trillion every year. So when you look at the U.S. budget, we're paying $1 trillion every year just on interest. And so this is showing up by Moody. The Moody credit rating, they actually assign a credit rating to a lot of different organizations, and they're saying, hey, the US is not really in a good shape right now because their interest payments are too high. It's $1 trillion. And when you look at how much we're bringing in terms of tax revenue, it's going to be really tough to pay off our debts, our US's debt. So they're saying, hey, it's been going down a little bit over a while. Before it was at the highest level, then it kind of came down a little bit, and now they're saying, it's negative. So this is not a good thing. I think there's a lot of policy that's going to be affected with this, maybe with regards to like the interest rates, the Fed rates, things like that. I don't know how it's going to impact, but it's not looking good.
I mean, it's always tough. Sometimes we give hard time to the government, but so far they have been handling well the kind of the recession, right? It always could be worse, right? So I think that it is complex. This type of movements, printing money, raising the interest, you have to do them, but it's only a few variables, right? And you don't know how it's going to react across the whole ecosystem. And as well, all of this was a recoil from COVID, right? So in some point, COVID, it was very weird because people was not going out. So their savings accounts were like very high. But unfortunately, after these next years, then people spend it all. So again, it's very, very hard to predict the models of what is going on. But yeah, let's keep watching that to see how it affect. Have your, for you, the audience, make sure that you are having some of your savings, right, for a rainy day. And because you never know when it could happen.
Right. On top of that, we've heard the Fed saying the way to fix inflation, the thing that's going on right now with interest rates being above 8% and things like that, like for mortgages and stuff, they're trying to cause pain and hurt. Like that's the only way to slow down the economy. So that's why they keep raising the rates. And the way to do that typically is they try to cause job losses, right? That's going to be one of their main indicators. The thing is, right now, the jobs reports have seen pretty good strength. Like people aren't losing their jobs yet. So even though the Fed did pause on raising rates, they did leave it open to like, hey, if we still don't see this inflation stuff kind of getting under control, they kind of reserve the right to keep going up. And so that causes just a little bit of uncertainty with the banks and things like that. So they're being a little tentative with the rates. And so we're going to see these 8% rates for a little bit, I think, until things do start either slowing down or at least we see inflation really slowing. So that's, we'll see how that goes. But this negative outlook that the Moody folks are saying right now, it's not a good sign, but maybe it's what the Fed is looking for. They're looking for things to slow down a little bit in terms of the economy and things like that. So we'll see how it all plays out, but it's kind of this weird web of things, and it's hard to, that's what people do, right? They try to guess how it's going to affect things, and they make bets with their stocks or their portfolios and things like that. Of course, Bitcoin and crypto, things like that are kind of, it's a way to opt out of that system. And so I think that's why we're also seeing a little bit of price going up.
To help you to hedge, right? So regarding that, but let's keep watching that.
Cool. Well, lots happened in tech this week, actually. So how about we dig into some of that? Did you hear about this crazy robot that crushed a guy?
Yeah, man. Sad news, though. It's like, it was literally in South Korea, right? You have this robo arm. A 40-year-old person was inspecting the machine, and suddenly the machine grabbed him and just put him on the belt and kind of crushes his head and his chest, and it killed him, right? So, and it's just all over the news.
No way. I mean, so I'm assuming this is some kind of, is it like a smart system, some kind of robot, or was he just standing in the wrong place? Do you know what happened?
No, it's in the factory, right? So he was checking the sensor on basically that, and it just happened. The problem is when you're coding this type of machines, you have the algorithms to be able to visualize. So, and trying to assess the object that is using. So, kind of unfortunate that probably it actually maybe thought that it was a box, and it was treating him like a box, right? So, programmers need to be very careful, right? When they are like, they have to put a lot of checks in place to be able to remove some bias. And it reminded me this news. Do you remember like the movie I, Robot? There is a movie, but obviously it came from a book.
I didn't know it came from the book. Okay, I'm not big in science fiction reading, but I like the movie. It was pretty cool. That's the one with Will Smith, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So the author has three rules. Do you remember the rules from the movie? I think that they mentioned it too.
So this is Asimov, the Asimov rules about the robots, right? Like don't kill the human. I don't know. What are the other ones?
Yeah, basically a robot shouldn't injure a human, right? So don't kill the human, I guess. The second one is that the robot must obey orders given by the human, except if actually excluding any conflict with the first one, right? To not harm a human. Okay. And the last one is basically a robot must try to survive, to preserve his own existence, as long as he's basically not colliding with the first rule, which is not don't harm a human, which is like this one completely failed. the rules from Massimo, right? So it's a very, very weird spot, because you can see it also in all of the different automation, right? Like maybe in Tesla, right? Like when you're doing some of the motions, like imagine if somebody just crosses the street and by accident, but then what do? The car, do they stop, right? Knowing that there are some cars in the back, right? What about if it's a child, right? So a lot of these nuances to see all of these problems, they have to be kind of built on the algorithm for the machines or the AI to be able to kind of make an assessment very quickly, right?
Yeah, it's very interesting because basically a lot of these new models that we're building right now, we'll need to build in some ethics into it, because of course there will be situations where there's a clear-cut answer, yes or no, or one way or the other. There will be choices that need to be made, is like, this is the best of the bad choices that it has, and it has to do in split-second decisions, right? So I think that's pretty interesting. Now, here's my thought though. Like, what if right now we're thinking, okay, that robot mistook the human for a box, right? But what if, I mean, last time we said these robots are learning how to lie, right? So what if it became sentient and it said, this damn factory operator has me working 24/7. I'm going to show him. And, he crushed him, right? So I don't know. I obviously, I don't think that's what happened. But, you can see as we move forward, and if these AI robots become able to think for themselves, like it can say, I thought it was a box. This was an accident, obviously, but maybe there's ulterior motives. You never know.
No, and we have to watch that, right? So I'm more in the camp that there was a mirror in the programmer.
Blame it on the developer. That's why they're all quitting. We've got how many millions people quitting, developers? Yeah, that's why. Blame it on the developer.
Yes. So
fix it.
Talking about AI, right? So I didn't pay attention, but the name is Grok X AI, which is like the AI algorithm for Elon, right? Have you used it or not yet? Or
so I don't have access to it. I looked into it, but it looks like you have to. Elon smart here. It's like you have to buy Twitter, or to be a blue check or whatever it is nowadays on Twitter or X, like a verified user, and then he'll think about giving you access to Grok. So it's not open to the public yet, but they did get released this week. I think it's kind of funny, Of course, I think we've talked about how Elon was part of Sam Altman's OpenAI before when it was first getting started, and I guess there was some beef that happened, and he ended up getting kicked out or he left, or he was saying he didn't like the direction, and he's like, it'll fail without me anyways. Well, as we know now, ChatGPT got an influx of money from Microsoft, and now they're like the biggest thing right now. So
yeah,
what does Elon go do? He's
obviously,
like,
copy.
I got my own now. Yeah, mine's better. Grok is so much
Bigger
better
and
than
better.
GPT, bigger and better, right?
By the way, right now with the word Grok, I'm not sure this is my own. I need to do some research, but I'm just by hearing it. There is a book. You said that you don't read, so I'm not gonna ask if you read it. I'm gonna assume
not science fiction. I don't do much science fiction reading.
Well, this one is another science fiction book,
okay.
which is called A Stranger in a Stranger Land. Have you read it? I got you. I got you. So well, this one, it is about a Martian. And I'm spoiler alert, please. If you haven't read it, maybe mute or whatever. But because I'm gonna have to tell you a couple things from the book, right? So, the author is Robert. I'm not sure if you pronounce it Heinlein, yeah, something like that. And it's in the 60s. It's a novel, and he uses the term grok. So, and I think that they coined it to him from this book, because it was literally. If you Google it, it means understanding. It means, but the way that I also understand it myself is more also as well with empathy. So, and that book is actually quite religious. And in my opinion, it actually is talking almost about Jesus, believe it or not, when he's a Martian. So it's an interesting book on philosophy and science fiction and a little bit of the religion. And I'm actually no wonder why he chose the name, right, like Grok, because it actually
thinks he's Jesus.
No, necessarily more for the Martian, I think, and more for the understanding.
I know, I gotcha.
so yeah, I think that it's weird that he used that term to be able to name his algorithm.
So if you look up the definition of Grok, it's gonna say like understanding or empathy. So you could say it's kind of means like, I feel you, bro. You know, so
I like that.
I feel you, bro.
So you think that is because ChatGPT is like that mask, that blend that we were discussing, right? Like,
right.
And this one is gonna be like with culture and like
be in your face, right? It's the code switching, right? That's
the code switching. Yeah, Grok is doing code switching.
It's code switching here. So, okay, so apparently Sam Altman, right, from OpenAI, the ChatGPT guy, he was
my homie Sam.
Your homie Sam from Burning Man, right?
Yes.
He was saying something like he picked on Grok for whatever, right? Elon, Grok, blah blah blah. He was picking on it, and so Elon's not gonna stand for that shit, right? He's gonna be like, oh yeah. So he made Grok come up with a joke making fun of ChatGPT, GPT-4. So let me read it to you. He kind of put it out in a tweet or something like that. It says, okay. So this is from Grok's point of view. He asked it, I guess, to roast GPT-4. So he goes, GPT-4? More like GPT snore. When it comes to humor, GPT-4 is about as funny as a screen door on a submarine. Humor is clearly banned at OpenAI, just like the many other subjects it censors. Ooh,
so the Grok was even fucking rapping there, man.
Yeah, I know, right? I think that's the next thing right there. So, yeah, so it's kind of funny. So, Elon's kind of poking fun at GPT-4 with his own product Grok. But, of course, Grok's not really open yet, so we'll see what they're going to do. But, a lot of stuff that Elon does, he kind of tends to do it pretty well. So he pushes his folks to, like, don't take shortcuts and things like that. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's going to be good for the industry?
It's great to have different options because it used to be Google. Actually, I'm worried. I like a lot of the Google products, right? I hope that they don't go under. They have to figure it out, right? Like, because right now I'm not using Google as often as I used to. I'm using ChatGPT. I have a ChatGPT window open, right? So I got rid of a lot of products, right? No Grammarly, almost no Google. and again, it's just a disruptor on the technology. So I think that's what we're gonna see, how if they don't play it out properly, if they still probably are fighting internally on, because probably they have also some good tech for AI internally that they haven't put it to them basically to the mass. So we have to see them react very, very quickly. They have BART, but dude, I mean, compared to what these two things, nobody knows, which is weird, right? Because it's Google. We all know Google.
Mm-hmm. Well, Bard does have an advantage in that I think they have access to current internet, whereas GPT-4 is still back to maybe 2021.
Not anymore. You can have in the premium. You can basically ask it to kind of have internet, right? But they are advanced it super fast. Which kudos for OpenAI, because they give it like new internet, and also they're giving it eyes, like literally. Why? Because now they have vision, so you can literally have images. So literally it's vision and also internet. So, and they are building the hearing with audio as well. Dude, that shit is gonna become sentient very soon.
GPT-4 is going to be, it's pretty awesome. Actually, we didn't mention this, but this week also they had some other announcements around GPT-4 where they're actually letting people build their own GPTs. So it's a new announcement. So basically, if you have documentation, let's say for your job or your work, you got a bunch of documentation, you can make your own GPT with it very easily. Put it in, I guess, into GPT, and you can start asking it like, stuff based on your own documentation. Or if you're doing, let's say you're doing a research project, you download a bunch of journal articles, PDFs, things like that. You did your lit review basically. So you have maybe 100 different journal articles. You can feed it into your language model or your GPT-4, and you can query it just like you would do with GPT-4. So it's becoming an expert at a particular subject that you're telling it to. So this is really cool stuff, and it's building and building on top of each other. It's really cool what GPT-4 is actually doing.
For sure. If you are studying like your career and you're starting there, go into ML, machine learning, right? There is a bunch of now new things, right? And back on my days, it was a computer science. That was the shit. The shit right now is data scientist / machine learning, right? Why? OpenAI actually is paying 10 millions a year. So for their top programmers, their top people, right? So, I mean, now you hear here.
I know, right? That now's your chance to really get into that. And I would say also, like, I also saw this news, like there's new revised timelines for the singularity, right? When the computer becomes sentient and it basically takes over at that point. They're saying it's within the next 10 years now, or possibility is within the next 10 years. So they're moving that goalpost up. It used to be not until 2045 or something was when a singularity was going to happen. Now they're saying maybe in the early 2030s.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. I think that we have a solid one, man.
Of course, at that point, we won't need developers once the singularity happens. So I don't know. Spend your time wisely, I guess. That's the closing thought for today.
Exactly.
But hey, if you like this content, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. I know we had some pretty interesting comments in the last week, so we're going to take that into consideration, and we're going to see if we can do some Jurassic Park or Jeff Goldblum type work here. I think that's going to be very interesting to see. Mando, what do you think?
No, I mean, I'm excited. Dale.
All right, we're going to do it. Sin miedo. Dale.
Bye.